All right, so this week I've got an interesting kind of a fire effect that I had demonstrated at Photoshop World last week, and it went over so well that a lot of people were asking if I was going to post it as a tutorial, and here you go. So what we have here is a document. It's just a regular blank document. I've got it set to a black background. And I've gone ahead and created a new blank layer, as you see right here. And what we're going to do is we need to first create the layer style that we're going to use to apply to this fire effect. So what we're going to first do is go over here and grab our brush tool, and let's go inside the brush menu, and I'm just going to grab this soft edge brush here, and we're going to make sure we're painting with white as our foreground color. So if you're not set to that, just simply press the D key and then the X key, and that will set the default colors and then flip them around so white is in the foreground. And I'm just going to go into my document and just paint a stroke. Doesn't matter what it is, it just needs to be there so we can visibly see our layer style taking shape. So inside the layer menu, or the layer palette over here, we're going to go into the effects menu and choose outer glow. And we're going to go inside the color swatch here and change this. I'm going to move this up to the very top and grab this really harsh red color here. And we're going to set the blend mode to hard light. And we're going to push the opacity all the way up to 100. And you can see it's taking shape there, looking pretty good. I'm going to, in fact, increase the size a little bit to around 10. Now, before I OK out of this, we're going to activate the inner glow. I'm going to click on that swatch again, and this time we're going to go in here and move it down to get a really kind of a bright orange color. Really orangish yellow color. We'll click OK on that one. I'm going to change the blend mode again to hard light. And let's go ahead, let's push that opacity up to 100. I'm going to go ahead and leave the size at 5. It looks pretty good. So it's got a really kind of a hot, fiery look there. So we'll go ahead and click OK. So we've got the layer style set on this layer. I'm going to press Command or Control A and simply hit delete to delete everything on the layer, but the layer style is still active, as you see right here. If I still take that brush and just continue to paint, that layer style will redraw or update as I draw on this layer. But now what we're going to do is we're going to create a brush from a photograph. And for those of you that were in my session, remember this image. And we're going to use this image of this horse right here. And I only want to use part of it. And it's going to work because we have this on a white background. You know, if you want to define a brush from an image in this case, it's going to help that it's against a white background because it's only going to define the darkest areas of your image, leaving the white areas alone, or in this case, transparent when you define it as a brush. So with this horse image open, I'm going to grab my rectangular marquee tool and I'm just going to draw a box over this portion of the area, getting the horse's head and some of his body in there. And we're going to go into the edit menu, go down here and choose Define Brush Preset. And you'll see it there. We'll go ahead and click OK. So we've already defined that area. Let's reduce this or minimize that and go back into our original image here and select that brush tool again. And this time let's go back into the brush engine, and it should be the very last thing we define right here is that horse brush. Now when I drag over to the document, notice what it does. It takes the shape of the horse, but now because it's a brush, we can size it like a brush. So I'm going to go over here and use my left bracket key and just size this down until it gets to a size that'll fit inside the image. Now, of course, remember, we are painting on this layer that has the layer style, painting with white, and if I just go in here and I just click once, notice what happens. It gives me kind of a really hot, kind of fiery looking horse there. Well, we're not quite done yet. Need to enhance this a little bit more. I'm going to load this layer as a selection. I'm going to Command or Control click right directly on that layer. You can see it loads it. We're going to click and activate a layer mask here, and notice what it's done. It's masking away a little bit more of that area that we painted in and showing a little bit more of the layer style glow in there. So it's looking pretty good. Well, I'm going to go ahead and make a duplicate of this layer. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take that layer mask on that duplicate layer, just grab the layer mask itself, drag it down to the trash, and it's going to ask you if you want to apply it or delete it. I'm going to go ahead and leave it to be applied. So keeps the masking that it applied, but it gets rid of the layer mask. We're also going to turn off the effects here. I'm actually going to drag those effects right to the trash. So all we've got is that white version on top of our original one. And we're going to change the blend mode to overlay. And it's going to make it a lot hotter there, giving it a much more fiery look to it. Notice the difference there. And that's simply just by having that on its own layer and then changing the blend mode. Well, now we're going to take it a little bit further. Now for this case, I'm going to go ahead and take this layer mask and throw it away too, because we've gone ahead and applied the effect we want it to look. It's looking the way I want it to, and everything looks good. Well, now what I want to do is go over here and grab my smudge tool, and let's get a relatively soft, just a normal edge brush here. And we're going to keep the strength around 75, and you can certainly experiment with different settings here. I'm going to make that brush a little bit smaller. And what we're going to do is make the mane or the hair of the horse here, just by brushing it out, it's going to make it look like flames or fire that's kind of emanating from the back of this horse here. As you can see, because I've got that strength set very low, it's just going to get it very small strokes and only push those pixels so far, giving me what looks like a pretty convincing fire effect there. Well, let's take this area here and just going in all different directions to give me a very interesting effect there. And this is all because of that layer style. It's taken shape. So we can paint right on these layers and modify it, and the layer style will constantly update depending on how you manipulate the pixels on the layer, giving us that really cool fire effect in the end. We could go over here and let's just brush him. Maybe he's got some really hot breath coming out of his nose there. Maybe I want to put a bit of a shine on his eye, so let's go down here, and I'm going to hold my shift key down and click right on his eye and just kind of push this way. And we'll click again and push this way, just to give it some very interesting nuances of fire and flames and really kind of like light emanating out of there. Let's push these out a little bit more. Just like that. Looking pretty cool. You can even go in here and let's go and grab a new brush. Let's get one of these scatter brushes here. Let's get that one right there. Let's go into the brush options and modify it a little bit. And we'll take the size jitter all the way up. We'll take the scattering and push that. And let's go into the brush tip shape and increase the spacing just a little bit. And what this is going to do, if I use my bracket key and size that down, we'll just paint down here and give it a little bit of a mist, like he's breathing fire, you know. So he's not just made of fire, but he's actually breathing fire out, and it's giving me a kind of a really cool effect there. But notice we're doing this all on one layer, and we did that just by defining a few brushes, defining a layer style, and then you can just go crazy on here, just making it more of a fire effect. So hope you enjoyed that. This is, like I said, this was demonstrated at Photoshop World, and a lot of people wanted to see a little bit more in detail to see how they can experiment with it, but just try different things and see what kind of cool things you can come up with, and enjoy.